In this video, we are going to look at the measures of center, specifically what we call the mean and the median of the data. So we want to answer the questions, what are the measures of centers and how can we apply the measures of center? So when we talk about center, we're just talking about a data set. So pieces of data, numbers usually in a list or a table. And then we are going to find the center or the middle of the data, and we can measure that different ways. First, we can use the mean, and the mean is a measure of center in which the average of the data is taken. So you've probably heard the phrase average when you think about your grades or finding the average cost of something. So we use that a lot just in everyday life. And we do that, we find that mean by finding the sum of all of the data points. And then we're going to divide by the number of pieces of data or the number of data points. And we'll look at an example here in just a minute. The other measure of center that we talk about is the median, and this is the measure of center in which the middle of the data is taken. So in this case, we're going to line up all of the different values in our data set, and we are going to order them from least to greatest. And then once we have them in order, we are going to determine the middle of the data set, and that's our median. So let's look at how we can apply this. So it says the amount of Breyer's most recent water bills are shown in the table. We want to find the median. So anytime I see the word median, I think of middle. And so teach your brain to think that. So we're going to find the middle or the median of the water bills. So first we want to line them up from least to greatest. So I'm going to go ahead and list that out. We have $29.95, and I like to mark them off so that I can keep track. I have to go to another line. Okay. So in this case, I also like to count up and see how many I have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then I'm going to double check that I put 7 in my list. And then I'm going to go ahead and use the highlighting tool to kind of mark them off. So we want to find the middle. So the best way to find the middle is just to mark them off. We're going to cross off the lowest and then the highest. The lowest and then the highest. The lowest and then the highest. And then what's left, in this case, we have one number left. And so we would call that our median. So we can see that the median water bill is $38.29. Okay, now let's look at a question where it asks for the median, but that we have a different number of data pieces. Okay, so it says Chelsea viewed several homes for rent in 2 different cities. In which city was the median price of rent the highest, and by how much? Okay, so we have a list with city A and the monthly rent and then city B. So we're comparing these 2 data sets. So I'm going to go ahead and start by looking at city A. I'm going to label that really clearly. It wants to know the median. Okay, so we're looking for the median. So I know I'm going to line them up from lowest to highest or least to greatest. And so I'm going to look at city A. I have 2,100. Then I have 2,900. 3,100 and 3,200. Okay, so that represents our data set from least to greatest. Now we want to find the middle. But in order to find the middle, we're going to go ahead and cross off the least and then the greatest. And then I see that I'm going to have 2. And if I cross them both off, I'm left with nothing. Well, at this point, we want to determine the mean of the 2 middle numbers. So we want to find the average right here. So we're going to find the sum, 3,100 or 3,100, 2,900. We're going to add that up. We'll see that we get 6,000. And then to find the sum or the average, we're going to add that up and divide by 2 because we have 2 pieces of data. So we can see that city A has a median of 3,000. So median is one of the data sets or the measure of center where it's not necessarily in the data. It doesn't have to be in that list. So that's okay if you get a median that's not in your list. Now let's go ahead and look at city B. We'll do the exact same thing here. So we have 2,450, 2,500, 2,600, and 3,000. We're going to cross off our lowest and our highest. Then we're left with these two values in the middle. We're going to find the sum of those, which will be 5,100. We're going to divide by 2 because there's 2 pieces of data, and that will give me $2,550. So that is the median of city B. And it wants to know which one is the rent the highest and by how much. So we're going to go ahead and subtract, and we can see that the rent is the highest in city A by $450. Okay, great. Now let's look at this question. It says the table shows the number of insects that Mason and his 4 brothers collected while on a nature hunt. Find the mean number of insects that the boys collected. So in this problem, it wants to know the mean. And remember, the mean is another fancy math word for the average. And to find the average, just like we would with your grades, we're going to add up all the data pieces, and then we're going to divide by the number of pieces of data. So I'm going to find the sum of 28, 19, 22, 31, and 26. When I add that all up, I'm going to get 126. And then I'm going to take 126 and I'm going to divide by 5. And I can see that I will get 25. Bring my decimal down. Bring my decimal up, excuse me. And I'll have that the average number of insects, or the mean number of insects, was 25 2/10 insects. Okay, now let's look at this question. It says the mean high temperature over the last 6 days in Palm Springs was 76 degrees Fahrenheit. 5 of the high temperatures are listed below. Find the 6th missing temperature. So we have our list, and when we're talking about mean, and in the example after this, I'm going to show you the difference with median when we're looking for a missing piece of data. So in this case, mean means average, so we're going to find the sum, and we are going to divide. That's how we would find the mean. But this time, it actually gave us the mean. So if you look here, it tells us the mean is 76. It wants to know what's missing. So when I do that, I know that if I undid the mean, I could take 76 and I could multiply it by 6, because that's how many days we're looking at. I'm going to get 456. So that essentially is the same as adding everything up and dividing by 6. I'm undoing, so I'm multiplying by 6, and I had a sum of 456. Now I can find the sum of the data that I do know, and when I add all of those up, I get 381. So now I can subtract, and when I subtract those values, I get 75. So I know that the missing amount is 75 degrees. Okay, in this last one, we are looking, it says the median monthly rainfall over the last 6 months was 3 inches. The monthly rainfall of 5 of the months are listed below. Find the inches of rainfall during the 6th month. So again, we are given the median and we're wanting to find that missing piece of data. So the first thing we need to do is recognize that the median is our middle number. So when I look at this, I want to put these in order from least to greatest, but I also want to recognize where 3 would be. And so when I look at my list of data points, I can see that I have 4 inches, 6 inches, and 4.5 inches are all greater than 3. So when I go ahead and list my data points in order, I know I have 1 inch, 1 inch, the missing value, 4 inches, 4.5 inches, and 6 inches. And I know that that median of 3 has to be between the 1 and the 4. So my median is going to be somewhere right here. Since I have 6 pieces of data, it's actually specifically going to be right here. So I'm trying to find the median, or the average is 3 between this missing number and 4. And so You can do a lot of different things here, but one thing might just be to guess and check. Or you might already know that 3 is going to have to be the middle of 2 and 4. So 2 plus 4 is 6. If I divided by 2, that would be 3. So my median here, 3, means that my missing data value is 2 inches. You can always double check that by going ahead and using this information just like you got it and double checking that this makes sense, okay? And finding the middle number between 2 and 4, which is 3. Okay, great job. So we talked about the measures of center and then how we can apply them to calculate and find information about data sets. Great job.